New York, baby!
Hello, I'm Ryan Donato.
Hello, welcome back to another Hard Review, and I am here to talk about the recent installment in the Quiet Place franchise. We have A Quiet Place Day One. Now, A Quiet Place Day One stars Lupita Nyong'o, Oscar winner for 12 Years a Slave. She's also Maz Kanata in the Disney Star Wars sequels. She is a wonderful actress. She is awesome. I was really excited to see that she was going to be the lead of this new movie. Joseph Quinn is also one of the leads. He is playing the Human Torch in the next Fantastic Four iteration. The director is Michael Sarnoski, who people will know from the Nicolas Cage film Pig, which was a pretty decent hit a few years ago. Now, when it comes to the Quiet Place franchise, the first movie I was really a big fan of. I remember there was like two huge horror movies that year, and it was like Hereditary and A Quiet Place. But history is not shining upon me, but I chose A Quiet Place out of those two. Now, today, if you ask me, I'd probably take Hereditary, but at the time, I just liked A Quiet Place more because I thought it was much more of a crowd pleaser, whereas Hereditary is much more disturbing horror film. They're really going for like different things. This is more like blockbustery type horror. It was really a fun surprise to see John Krasinski go into the director's seat for a film. Obviously, it's cute that he did the movie with his wife, Emily Blunt. I thought the child actors were all right. The concept is really fun and new. I really like the look of the aliens. Yeah, they really remind you of the Demogorgons from Stranger Things. I didn't even know that these were called Death Angels until I watched an interview with Lupita Nyong'o where she didn't know they were called Death Angels. But this movie I really like. Really pulls on your heartstrings, especially when, certain characters do certain things. I don't want to spoil it at all. I really like this. I really like the ending. It was like kind of like the let's go kind of ending. I would still to this day give this like a 5 out of 5. I would rewatch this again. Really big fan of this. A Quiet Place 2. Now, I remember this was really important for the box office because I remember this came out, I think it was just after Memorial Day weekend in May of 2021. It came out the same day as Cruella. These were both huge hits. Quiet Place was much bigger hit because I think Cruella you could also like rent on Disney Plus at the same time. But A Quiet Place Part 2 I think went on Paramount Plus a little bit after. But yeah, no, this was dominating the box office. It was awesome. And what a great, huge success for John Krasinski, especially since he's not in this movie. I mean, he is in this movie. He has a scene at the beginning of the movie in a flashback. Emily Blunt mostly carries this movie and she does a great job. I really like the new additions of Cillian Murphy and Djimon Hounsou. I think that there's a lot more of the same here, especially with the ending of the film, but it's still good. It's still really competent. I'd probably give this one like a 4 out of 5. Now, one of my biggest problems with this new movie is it's called A Quiet Place Day One. I already saw Day One. In A Quiet Place 2, I got to see how John Krasinski and his family experienced the first day of A Quiet Place. So this is really not that novel of a concept. The newest thing about it is that it takes place in New York, which is fun, but I don't really feel like they play around with that concept too much. When the initial pandemonium's going on, it's very like, there's like fog everywhere and you can't really see much of anything. I do think it's really cool. You see it in the trailer where like the Death Angels are like falling down from skyscrapers. That's terrifying, But even in this new film, I don't really feel like we got a lot of like them learning that, oh, it's a sound thing. You know what I mean? I feel like it's just kind of known right away. Like she goes and hides in the theater and it's like, oh, you gotta be quiet. And it's like, yeah, I know we generally have to be quiet because we don't want the monsters know where we are. But how do we know that they're attracted to sound like this? You know what I mean? Like, I guess it's really not that hard to figure out, I guess. But I don't know. I just found like it was like an immediate like, oh, we all know right away. Lupita Nyong'o's character is, I think she has cancer or some kind of illness or health problem where she is going to die soon. She's in hospice. She has her cat. She has a really bad attitude. She goes to the little meetings. She's like being mean to everybody and really like deprecating. When they go on a field trip to the city, the whole pandemonium of the aliens coming down happens. Now she is trying to survive and we want to get that slice of pizza, baby. She's saddled with her cat. Now, a lot of people really like the cat in this movie and I think it's like a cute, fun little thing. I'm not like as head over heels about the cat as everyone else is. I am head over heels about Lupita Nyong'o. I think her performance is as great as this performance can be. She doesn't really give too much to do, which is unfortunate, but I just am such a big fan of her and I think she does so much with so little and she makes this movie like worth watching. I think for casual audiences, they will enjoy this movie. I kind of got cynical by how like easy this movie would be to watch for someone who's not a fan of the franchise. Like, oh, it's called A Quiet Place Day One. So even if you haven't seen a Quiet Place movie, it's Day One. So it's not like you need to have any prior knowledge. But if you are a fan of the other Quiet Place movies, don't you worry either because we're going to have little references like Djimon Hounsou's character is from A Quiet Place Part 2. So there's little connection things here and you might learn a little bit more about the aliens. And I really didn't feel like I learned that much more about the aliens. John Krasinski doesn't want to come back and direct this. He wants to go off and do If, but still he's like very much so on top of this movie. Like I think my buddy was telling me that the director of Bike Riders was going to direct this movie and he didn't do it because it was clearly going to be a John Krasinski show. So you're kind of like, he's kind of holding your hand kind of a thing, which which I totally understand. I just don't think this is a concept that we need to see like a litany of films in. Now, it's making a good amount of money at the box office and people are really liking it. Like, it's got really good positive scores. It has a much higher critic rating than it does audience rating, but still audiences are really enjoying it. I think that if you are not super invested in the franchise, you'll probably enjoy this more because I'm so into the franchise and I think it's so highly of it. I do have a lot of disappointment for this entry in the franchise because I'm like, well, what's new? What was the purpose of making this movie? Why did we have to tell this story in the universe? And I guess really not the worst thing in the world because there's a lot of horror franchises where we have like a million sequels and most of them are bad. Friday the 13th, Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, Chucky, Hellraiser, like Scream. There's so many where we just keep constantly getting movies in the franchise. So if it keeps making money, I guess sure. And I do think it's like generally like scary. I think there's some cheap scares in the movie that I thought were really lazy and boring. There wasn't really a lot of set pieces that I really fell in love with. Like there's one where they kind of go out into the subway, which I thought that was a neat concept to explore, but really no, there's nothing here that really stands out to me. There's a moment in the film where Joseph Quinn's character leaves Lupita Nyong'o to go do something, and I was like, that's bathroom time, because Lupita Nyong'o is the only thing I really like about this movie. That being said, I don't ever need to see another A Quiet Place movie. I think it's generally fun and fine. I think that these movies are bad for theaters too, because people are awful, people are terrible, you know, even if you're like just eating your food or whatever, like popcorn and drink, like you're gonna be making a bunch of noise, you're gonna be self-conscious about it if you care about other people. It's PG-13, so definitely a bunch of teenagers are going to be in there giggling in the back row because it's just so funny. People just talking during the movie all the time, and you're going to hear it because the characters are so quiet and the movie's so quiet that you're going to hear pretty much anything that ever possibly happens. So it's definitely a hard watch in the theater. It's definitely one I would try to catch at a time that is not conventional so that you're not really there with a whole bunch of other people. I saw it on opening night at 9 o'clock. That's on me. That being said, I think Joseph Quinn is fine in this movie. I also think that the Wolf Kid, Nat Wolf, Alex Wolf, whichever one that was in Jumanji and Patriots Day, he's good. I really like him. I was actually upset that they did away with his character so quickly. I wish he would have been the supporting character to Lupita instead of Joseph Quinn because they established their relationship. They have a dynamic. I think that would have been more fun to watch develop than to just, you know, cheaply kill him off like 10 minutes into the movie. Now have to start over from scratch with this brand new guy. It's already like a 100-minute movie. We don't have that much time to play with. There's a natural conflict between those two. Why aren't we exploring that instead of exploring, oh yeah, there was just a random guy that she met up with and, you know, they decided that they were going to be together for the entire time. Nothing really inspiring about this movie. I thought that the ending was kind of lame. I'm not going to spoil it, but it's definitely a moment that stands out in the movie and I was like, oh, well, that's kind of cringy and weird. I get what they're trying to go for, but like, I don't know, it's just kind of like sad and like, it's supposed to be this like cool, badass, like scary thing and it's like, no, that was just like kind of lame. I'm giving this movie a generous 3 out of 5. I think it's okay. I had a fine time watching it. It's pretty brisk, I guess, but it's not one that I'm really going to be going back to anytime soon. Buy the Blu-ray if it was really, really cheap, but it's not something I'm going to go out of my way for. And it's not really something I'm going to be recommending to people unless they're like really big horror fans. I'll be like, yeah, it's out better than any other horror movie that's out right now, right? I don't know. I like Watchers more, but that's not really horror. But yeah, movies are great. We're in the heat of the summer. I am going to pick up the pace here with my reviews. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Like, comment, subscribe. And why don't you guys tell me what your favorite Quiet Place movie is? Mine's the first one. And where can we go? Where are we gonna go with this franchise? What could we possibly do here? Because I think we're done. I think we just don't know anything. And that's why we're going backwards, right? Because we're like, I don't know where else to take this.